a little while. Going live immediately on Periscope. Yeah, regarding Office 365, live on Periscope, live on YouTube. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good now is how we say it on this show to everyone who's watching right now. This is Daryl as a Service and
Daniel Glenn. Hello, everyone.
Daniel Glenn as a something.
as a guy, as someone who loves Office 365. Yeah.
That's right. Making our job eventful. Yeah. So speaking of events, this morning we paused our live show because we opened it up and it was looking a little like a polar bear in the snow with its nose, right?
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? Oh, come on. You know, like sometimes in primary school it was like this. I've drawn a really good picture. Can't you see it, teacher? It's a polar bear in the snow with its nose covered. It's this big white piece of paper.
Right. I got the analogy. It's just, yes, the Msg Center is blank right now for us. So that's pretty much the way it's a bit of an error.
Well, we're going to get by because I think this is one of the strengths of the many ways that you can connect in and look at stuff. While we were discussing the lack of messages and thinking, what are we going to do? Do we put it out another hour or restream sometime? I was still getting pings on the admin app on my phone. And so we're going to use that as the discussion point, like I have in the past sometimes, as a way of highlighting that, look, you can keep up to date by using the stuff on your phone.
That's right.
We've also got a couple of discussions that we've come across in the tech community, which have been of interest around things that have been announced or haven't yet been announced or should have been announced.
Right.
Yeah. So well, I guess let's get into it. I'll try and share it first of all. Choosing the right monitor. Let's go with that. So here's our show notes. Boom, we're using OneNote. And then we'll AirPlay to that thingo.
Ooh, I see OneNote.
Yeah. So AirPlaying shortly. Come on now. Technical difficulties again. No. Let's try that again. AirPlay, device. Oh, there it is in the background. Funny. Admin app. Yeah, the admin app, people. Every admin has it on their phone, right? Msg Center, you know, with this wonderful thing called messages and health, and you can reset passwords from the beach or wherever you are. You can look at tickets and adjust groups and things. So I often go into the Msg Center to check what am I going to need to know to talk to people about. Now that screen's coming through nice and clear there, Dan?
Yeah, can see the phone real well.
Cool. So if we cruise on down to the bottom, oh man, you know what? Just as a quick observation, there's a bunch of, my usual pattern of we get to the end of the show, I tick them all and say, clear it out, man. You know, they have been dismissed. It seems that a bunch of messages have been undismissed. What's the word there? Re-invited back into the classroom? I don't know.
Showing back up.
Yeah. So if I come back down to Saturday, Tuesday, there we go. That would have been our first message for this week. So now, have you come across this before, Dan? This message that talks about the Trust Center?
I have. Well, I mean, other than this one that we're looking at, I don't think I have. I thought when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is the first time I've seen this. So I don't know, do they update it every year or something? Or I'm not sure.
I've seen it probably 3 times in the last half year or so. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a way of them being very transparent about the different vendors, third parties that are involved with working with some piece of Office 365 and Azure. And so they run this list to say, we've added another company, another thingo, another person that's going to be able to access this. So in full transparency, here they are. So if you have any objections to working with this company, I don't know, maybe that's part of the reason the list is there, then yeah, this is the case. So you can go to subcontractors. Let's have a look at what loads there.
When I was looking at it, it was very interesting because the list is not short. So
no,
that's the one thing that I reflected on, because there's a link in there somewhere to a PDF. So if you scroll down a little bit, I'm not saying you have to open it, but there's actually, the list, and it shows you what they do. Some provide support, so if there's issues and stuff, but then there's also there's what do you call those? Like ISPs or whatever, that providing the connection, actually between the data centers, and so those are listed as well. So it's interesting to see the list.
Let's see if we can actually open it up. So this is download. So that's the P. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
See?
Yeah. So anyone you know?
I didn't look at it that closely when I looked at this, but it is 6 pages long. So some good reading, I guess.
If you look at that column, second column in, so it's going through all the different regions. Obviously, the ones that relates and matches up to the different data centers. So if we get down here, I don't actually see anything here. Oh, no, that's Austria, not Australia. A bunch of US ones. There's probably going to be 1 or 2 entries in here with Australia somewhere. Egypt. Woo. Japan, Portugal, China. No, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not related to where the data center is, but just where the provider and the third party is.
Right.
So,
yeah, so there it is.
Yeah. Daryl, turn off your... Oh. So what does this say? That little moon thing usually says, I'm in do not disturb. I don't want to get any messages, and Twitter completely disrespects that. So Rebecca, 2 weeks in a row, you tweeted me during my presentation at a digital workplace conference in Australia, and now you're tweet bombing.
Yeah, we're starting to think it's on purpose. I'm kind of seeing a pattern here.
Tweet bombing our live stream, sheesh. All right, well that's quite an interesting list, and it's about full disclosure. So let's keep moving along. We've got we're retiring the classic 365 service health dashboard. I haven't seen that for so long.
But if you scroll down a little bit, it gives you the 2 URLs for the sites. So one is service status, that's the old one, and then the new one is service health. So if you'll notice there in those 2 URLs there, well, that's great. But if you open those 2 up, and I'm not saying you have to right now, but if you open those 2 URLs up, it looks exactly the same. Like exactly the same. So at this point, my thought was either the URLs are it's already redirecting for me, but I don't think it was supposed to be, and it's just not rewriting the URL. It's just keeping it as service status, but I'm actually looking at the service health. But it looked exactly the same for me. So
see,
I don't know.
I look at that and I go, I can't remember what that service health dashboard used to look like. I remember before we had our great admin center, which has really changed dramatically, and has that kind of Azure feel to it, like the blades, but I don't remember what that center looked like again. So I mean, here's the blog post back from March saying this is what it's going to look like. more to come. Bunch of stuff. Anyway, if you were still direct linking to the old Msg Center, then that probably affects you. If not, and you just go to portal.office.com and go to the admin center, then you are now made aware. Now that's something I do want to, if I could, I can't zoom in on that. Look at the category underneath the ID number for this announcement. It says awareness. What I notice is there's a difference between what that keyword is in the phone app as opposed to the portal. So you might have stay informed in the portal, but you have awareness or something like that in the app. I don't know. Anyway, variety is the spice of life.
Because the category for that event or Msg Center, but on here it's awareness, right? Well, it said, if you go back there, it said prevent or fix issues right next to the number, but then underneath it says awareness. Interesting. Yeah, okay.
Our next announcement is updated feature. The Yammer iPad app is going to receive some changes. Do you have an iPad, Daniel?
I do, actually.
What
do you think? Ask me if I use Yammer
at all? Yeah, that's all right.
Are you asking me if I use Yammer at all or Yammer on the iPad? Because there's going to be two different answers here.
Yeah. Now, I just want to pause here and not trying to entrap you with any kind of answers or anything. But I just want to highlight something, that there is an angelic glow behind your head that makes you look like, you're a celestial being, right? So therefore, you have to be truthful with this next answer. You have to be truthful with this next answer. Do you or do you not use Yammer iPad?
You can't handle the truth. No, I do not use Yammer for the iPad.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
I don't.
I'm actually just a new iPad user myself. I've switched. I still have to ink. I've got to ink, so that's why I've got the iPad Pro. But I've switched away from using Surface. Sorry.
That's just wrong.
Too many.
I'm just going to go ahead and say that, but okay.
Many warranty swaps.
Well, if you've put up with the issues this far. No, there was an interesting article, and I'm not trying to derail us, but there was an interesting article by I can't remember now, but it may have been Thoreau. Anyway, Thurrott, sorry. But it was about people who pay a premium for a device will tend to defend that device or make excuses for issues for that device because they've paid a premium for it. I thought that was an interesting concept that he was coming up with, and I was like, maybe that's me. But I even though I've had a bunch of issues with my Surface, I still love it. So back to the Yammer. I use Yammer on my phone. For some specific groups that I'm involved with, things keeping up with maybe conferences that I'm about to speak at, getting information about that and stuff, but not on my iPad. I really don't.
Yeah. Ever since switching from Windows Phone to kind of the iPhone and Apple ecosystem, I've challenged myself to try and be as productive as possible, see how much I can do on a mobile device. So that's why I'm riding the iPad train. But the Yammer iPad app has been lacking in a bit of love. I find that the Yammer is easier to use from my iPad. So I'm welcoming some of these updates as I guess one of my key takeaways from this. If we just have a quick look at the post in the tech community about it. I
did notice it said universal search was one of them. Which
what do you take that to be?
I would assume that means it's going to search across all of my networks. Is that what it means?
Yeah, I doubt it. I've found that, so the network thing, it's a killer, because we're suffering from this as we organize things for Ignite, and then we jump over to the MVP one, and then we jump over to this little private groups thing. It is a difficulty when we've got lots of different networks. Now, universal search, I believe, is that when you use the search box, it'll search across all your groups, all your conversations within a network. That's how I would take it to mean.
That's great.
We've got a nice little.
Shouldn't have it worked that way the whole time? Okay, never mind. Let's keep going.
It will. It's just from the iPad, it wasn't.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Now it will. But have a look at the additional information there. There's a pretty little GIF, which is probably not streaming very nicely through on. Oh, it's
it
not
looks
too
pretty
bad.
Good actually. Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah. And that's someone holding their iPad in portrait mode. But they've got like a what does it look like? A preview inbox or something going in, and they've got headers as well. There's new and all. So one of the things there, I thought, that's just a relabeling thing. You can look at your new messages or all messages. So that's just a relabel. But anyway, we've had enough of a discussion there. There's a few comments there from Kevin and Connie and Kevin and boxing news. All right, spammage.
Here we go.
Anyway, back to the messages. Mayweather and McGregor. Aye. Group email managements in Outlook. Reading through that, you take this one.
Well, I like the idea that we're able to stop or better manage the messages we're getting in Outlook from our groups. I'm all for it. And that's what this is talking about. I think being able to manage the conversations that you're getting, because once we're a mature organization as far as groups is concerned, you're probably going to be a member of a lot of 365 groups, and having all of those emails inundate you, there's going to be some groups that you do want to have messages that are, when they're sent to the group, it's also sent to your inbox. There's going to be other groups where you just want to more of informational, where you go to that group to find the information. So I think it's better to have granular control over that. The one thing that I wanted to mention in this, if you go to the support article, there's a little blurb in there about Outlook on the web, and it says formerly Outlook web app. It's right there. That note.
We all know what they're talking about. My goodness,
Yes.
Some of these marketing names are just hard to follow.
Well, anyway, so right there in that note, right there at the top, it says subscribing is no longer an option there. In Outlook on the web. So that's interesting. That's the most interesting thing for me in this one, is that you're no longer able to do that. So I like that I have more granular control, but there it is. If you're in Outlook on the web, you're not able to subscribe to the group.
To a group. Well, surely that can't mean that. You can only subscribe from Outlook on your desktop?
We'll scroll back up there and read it again.
Yeah.
I mean,
when you subscribe to a group in Outlook 2016, group conversations and calendar, okay. So that means I've joined the group. Cool. Now I want to get all the messages that are going to be dropped in the shared inbox, and I want to get invites from the calendar. So I can do that from Outlook 2016, but I can't go into Outlook on the web and subscribe to that same content to be delivered to my inbox.
Right.
Yeah, that's a bit of a disappointment. I mean, there are some people that definitely use Outlook on the web only.
Yes.
We better double check.
There was a time when it surpassed Outlook, in my opinion, in some functionality. In fact, there is still in Outlook on the web. I'm trying to get used to saying that. There's still this functionality of pinning that doesn't really work really well in Outlook 2016. It doesn't do the same thing for me. I like to be able to pin things to the top, no matter how old they are, really important stuff, whether I need to come back to them or it's just informational purposes. I want to keep them there at the top. That works really well on Outlook Web. Outlook on the web. The other is junk mail. I like the experience of marking things junk there. Maybe it's doing the same thing in the background, but when I mark it junk in Outlook on the web, it says, okay, we're reporting this rather than just marking it junk for me. We're reporting it. But if I'm in Outlook 2016, it just says, okay, we blocked the sender. Well, I want to report them too. So I don't know if it's doing the same thing or not. But anyway, so that's my take. I'm done.
Well, I guess the other take I get from this, the other take I get from this, and I hope I'm right, is with let's say Yammer, with what else is there? Just even in regular Outlook conversations, in just your regular inbox, you can say silence this conversation, or I'm still going to get stuff delivered to me, but it's going to go to another folder, or it's just going to just sit there silently, and I'm not going to get notifications about it. So when I read this other piece here, you'll be able to stop following a group. Hang on. Additionally, users will get the ability to stop receiving any message from a group in their inbox. Now, is that all of them, or can I just unsubscribe from a particular conversation so that one won't be delivered to my inbox, but I'll be able to get any new ones as well?
Yeah, from the post that it links to, the Sport article, it looked as if there's only yes or no, rather not a filter kind of deal.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about Outlook experience and Yammer is, this conversation is getting a bit noisy. I do it in Facebook and things as well. It's like, well, that's cool. I'm interested, but I'm not interested in every man and his dog commenting now from all the following GIFs that are dropped in there.
Right.
All right. So that was the last one for this week. There is that big bold one at the top there that we're not going to address until next week. Kind of.
Actually, that is not the last one. But I just wanted to mention that there is another blip coming this weekend.
This is a blip in your tenant, yeah?
Yeah. So that is here, and I can show you. Let me share my screen.
Sure.
Okay, let me know when you can see.
Dan's really quite talented. He can also fill it in with. Oh, there we go. Have you got your Msg Center back?
What's it look like, Daryl? If you're going to make fun of me, and then you're like, oh, there's a Msg Center. Yes, the Msg Center is back up for me. So another scheduled. Where's the word? There it is. Blip. Small blip, not a big blip. Small blip. That will be coming this weekend. So it's the 2nd through the 4th, and apparently it's just for where my tenant is. So is this all of US? I'm not sure. But yes, another one. And I think this is 3 weeks in a row that we're doing this weekend updates, causing small blips.
And maybe they're getting something in line for a new feature that'll be released and talked about at Ignite, potentially.
Ooh, and I want to make sure that I say I don't know of any new features, so disclaimer, that's just totally guessing. I don't know if you want to put that disclaimer out, but I'll put that disclaimer out that I don't know of anything, but it is there.
You're such a pro. I didn't think about that, and it's probably good that I live on the edge of the world, that people don't follow up and go, that guy down there said that we were going to get something new, and it didn't happen.
Well, and I was going to highlight something that I had done before. We had some issues with the Msg Center before we went live, but I was actually, you fussed at me last time about having all my messages, so I was actually going to filter them down, but to say only the ones that are not the unread ones. But anyway, okay, I'm done.
Well done. Now I think I'll just do a quick screen share again back to back to our OneNote, because there was a couple of things that we were going to discuss. Oh, come on, show me the right screen. That one? Which is that bounding box? But what are you seeing there now?
I see a loading. That's all I see.
Loading.
Okay, here we go. I see the admin center.
No, all right, that's not the one. That is not the one we're looking for. Let's try that again. Screen 2.
This is not the screen you're looking for.
Okay. That's right. Loading this one, streaming that one. We should have. Did I do it again? Forget it.
This is not the screen you're looking for.
All right. Still not the droid or the screen you're looking for. So there were a couple of messages, conversations within the tech community, which were of interest. Let me see. There's I can display this. Let me get that going. Push that over there. Push that back over there. Paul Cunningham from Australia had this good discussion and response about keeping up with Msg Center. So aside from getting the weekly email that probably is delivered to your inbox now, aside from watching our awesome show, this question was from Erin. Let me just blow that up a bit. Should be coming through nice and well, she was talking about that trust center message as well. That's of interest to her. She wants to know when this sort of content comes in, so that she can quickly read it proactively rather than waiting for an email. So how's the best way to keep up to date with that? We had Vasil jump in and say, "Oh, you can use the API."
Are we seeing? We're seeing OneNote. Did you bring up the page?
Okay. Oh, I'm having fun.
There we go. Yeah.
Ta-da!
Voila.
Oh, my previews for my screen sharing were not doing what they should have. Erin, her message, Trust Center, wanting to know about that, wanting to know how to get immediate alerts of what was new. I might just jump in on this thread and quickly, while Paul has the best response, and that's what I wanted to bring our attention to, I will drop in a reply and say, there's also the admin app, which you could jump in and use, and then you'll get notifications on your phone of anything new. Back to Paul. Paul has developed a script to go into the Msg Center. I believe he might be using the same APIs that Vasil mentioned, so that you can just pull down the notifications that you're after. So if we just have a quick focus on Paul and Practical 365, because he's a practical kind of guy. So back in January, he wrote that script, and so he's able to pull down, and it looks like he's he's able to create his own message, a bit like a digest already. So you do get your digest that is created by Office 365, but this is one that apparently you can just grab his script, adjust it, maybe filter out other messages that you might not be interested in. And it's all available there in the TechNet gallery. So that's
that's great. And I'd like to see things like this, because to do some innovation, and thinking a little bit outside the box, to bring value. So I think this is great. I think, if you want a little more commentary, obviously watch our show and we will go through those and give you some commentary, but customizing that and, like I said, some innovation on how you can get those comments delivered, or that content delivered to you, is nice.
Now, the other thing that I know it is the next message for next week, but it has been discussed already because it was talked about and announced, is that GigJam is going the same route as docs.com. It's no longer going to be a thing. Did you experiment at all with GigJam when it came out?
So we're going to talk about this now and not next week. This whole.
Am I breaking my own rules?
You're breaking a rule, and so I'm just trying to make sure you're okay with that.
First rule of Msg Center is don't talk about next week's Msg Center. Second rule, Actually, I watched that movie for the first time on the plane back from Australia to New Zealand, and I was just like, this Fight Club thing. I know I can understand the saying now, but what the?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll answer your question. Did I find a use or ever use GigJam? Absolutely not. I thought it was interesting. I thought the demo was interesting, but I could never find a practical application for. And it's basically, I receive a document using from a colleague or something, and I can X out paragraphs, and we can work together to, create content. I just didn't ever see something seeing being used that way. I tried, just didn't. And so, to me, this is not a surprise that it's being discontinued. And it was, I believe it was a garage project to start off, or I think that's
maybe.
Right. I'm
I
not
know
sure.
that it featured quite prominently in Julia White's talk at Ignite last year, I think it was. But yeah, Laurie Strand, Christian Buckley, and I had a bit of a chat at Digital Workplace Conference. We've recorded that, and I've finally dragged it off my phone, so we'll publish that. Christian and Laurie have some interesting thoughts around GigJam, and that it was probably a means to an end. It was not necessarily just a product, but it's actually made other things more possible. So I'll be sure to publish that, and then I guess we can pass some more commentary about that later. But it was just really to draw attention to yet another interesting conversation in the tech community. So let's just stop sharing there.
Well, and I think for that, it's nice to see a company that will that is okay failing, learning from that failure, and continuing to innovate. And so I think that's great.
Yeah. Perhaps rephrased, a team within Microsoft trying something, not quite getting the exposure that they needed or the buy-in. They did have their own Twitter tag. I'm not sure about exposure, because you just highlighted that at Microsoft's major conference in the U.S., they highlighted this feature or this a tool. So I would say they did get the exposure. I just think they didn't hit a spot that needed a lot of attention. The functionality, and so, and you do that from time to time. And I think maybe, like you said, learn from that, make other products better, and move on. And I think that's what's happening. So, and it's okay. Yeah, I think I'll save some of the commentary for next week and maybe dive into it a bit. I think it's still live and working, so maybe we'll just take a last salute to that as something of a demo next week, because it's something that I did. I presented it at our user group not long after it came live, and it's just one of those things that it's kind of abstract in the way that you need to think about how it's used, and perhaps that just didn't sit well or come across clearly. But anyway, that's us. I think we've half an hour show. Look at that, we're kind of on time. We're not rabbiting or warbling along too much.
Yep,
not too bad. Keeping it nice and short, sitcom length with no advertisements. But that was the regarding Office 365 Msg Center of the week that was. Just, I guess, to finish off, big news for us is that a couple of us have been selected as Ignite reporters for the tech community. And, this is something that we were planning to do anyway before that invite or that gig was to get together with the team and try and, as Daniel said, interview people, talk about stuff, get the stories and the thoughts and opinions of people at Ignite and bring that experience to you. So we will be doing that. We are going to be streaming on Periscope. That's why we've been trying to build that following and audience there, because it'll all tie nicely into the Twitter streams that are going on. All those conversations around 365. So we'll look for a blog post shortly available, which lists all the team that will be there at Ignite, what we'll be speaking on, a couple of interviews, for each person about what they're doing at Ignite. Big day, lots going on. So regarding Office 365, Msg Center the week that was. We'll see you again next week. Bye for now. Closing off those streams. This is never a smooth experience. I like to do it from OBS. So
we should create a flow button for this.
Yeah, we'll talk to Pexip and we'll see what other additional things they can snap in about playing out little intro and outro things. Anyway, stopping the YouTube stream and we're going now.